Hello. The animal world is amazingly diverse, and some creatures look really peculiar. But today, we want to talk not only about their appearance, but also about their behavior and abilities, because many animals are very interesting and surprising. So make yourself comfortable and get ready to plunge headlong into the world of wildlife. Let's get it on. Sea turtles. You've probably heard stories about charming little turtles, which after hatching from the egg immediately creep towards the sea very confidently. You can see it even in children's cartoons, and we're so used to this image that we don't question its veracity. Nevertheless, do you know how turtles find their way to the sea? Well, they are sea turtles after all, and smell the seawater, right? Well, in fact, it's much more complicated. Sea turtles have amazing navigational abilities, and even if they accidentally end up in the middle of the open ocean, they know exactly which way to move. It's like they have a built-in compass, which presumably reacts to the magnetic field of the Earth. You heard us right, well, presumably. Despite the achievements of modern science, scientists still don't know with certainty how turtles find their way around. These amazing animals can even return to their birthplace after many years, despite the fact that they leave their native shore right after having hatched.
You may be wondering why I call him. Oh, he's going the wrong way.
But one thing we do know for sure, the built-in compass starts to work from the first days of the life of the turtle, and it's what allows them to get to the sea. Black cockatoos. One of the most interesting mating rituals in the animal world was discovered in black cockatoos. It wasn't easy to discover it though. These birds are actually very secretive, and it took a long time to get the necessary material, but the results were worth it. It turned out that in order to attract a lady cockatoo, males knock on trees. However, they don't use their beak, but a special stick. After preparing the hollow, the male selects a stick, bites it with his beak, cleans it from the leaves, and starts knocking on the nearest branch. If the female cockatoo doesn't like the sound, then he chooses a new stick, carefully processes it, and starts knocking again. They just keep doing it until the moment when the lady likes the result. By the way, females estimate not only the sound and rhythm, but also the drumstick itself. The thicker and longer the stick, the stronger the beak is, which means this black cockatoo male is stronger. In this case, as the scientists note, each cockatoo has its own drumming style, real artists. Ravens. Ravens are considered to be the cleverest birds on Earth. For example, a study conducted in the biology department in Moscow University showed that ravens are able to reason logically, and some even compare their intelligence to that of humans. Ravens can feel compassion, are able to talk, and also recognize people's faces. And this not only means that pet ravens always find their owners, these birds actually remember their offenders. Experiments showed that crows who were in danger or simply offended by a person remembered the faces of their offenders and could recognize them even after a few years.
Hey, you! Fuck you! Ha!
After seeing and identifying the villain, some ravens become alert, while others try to attack and get revenge. Moreover, birds not only remember, but also transmit information to each other. So it's possible if you ever hit a raven, you'll have to deal with all the black-feathered dwellers of the neighborhood. Adelie penguins. We've already talked about the mating rituals of the black cockatoo. Now let's move on to the south, to Antarctica, and take a look at Adelie penguins. This is one of the most common types of penguins, distinguished simply by a charming marriage ceremony. To please the female, the male presents her with a special gift, a precious stone. Yeah, just like we do. Well, in fact, it's just a normal stone, but for penguins, even the simplest cobblestone can be very valuable, because they build the nest to hatch the eggs with these stones. Sometimes penguins even steal stones from other penguins' nests to just build their own. So, it's a perfect wedding gift, don't you think? Sharks. Like many other marine creatures, sharks travel long distances, but wherever a shark swims, it can always find its way back. For this, these ocean predators should thank the magnetic field of the Earth, the very same that helps small turtles find the sea. But in this case, scientists have always suspected that it's not just a built-in compass. They suggested that the shark's smart nose plays a great role here. So they conducted an experiment by placing cotton balls into the noses of a group of leopard sharks. After this, scientists released them and traced their path. Only 37.2% of the sharks with olfactory impairment returned to their habitat, while in the group of sharks that didn't have anything interfering with sniffing, found this percentage was higher, 62.6%. Not a bad result. Cuckoos. Most animals and birds take care of their offspring and protect it until a certain age, but not cuckoos. Of the 150 species of this bird, about 30% lay their eggs in other birds' nests, where there's nobody home. Of course, a cuckoo doesn't do it at random. Actually, it carefully examines future parents and chooses the best for its offspring. Cuckoos can even mimic sounds of predator birds, distracting the nest owners and taking advantage to throw in an egg. But don't think that this behavior is associated with a desire to free from caring for the baby. As I've already said, the cuckoo wants the best for its baby, and therefore it only leaves it to the most caring birds that will provide it with food and care. But this is not the only surprising thing in their behavior. When the birds raised in foreign families grow up to meet with others of its kind. How this happens is a mystery, because little cuckoos didn't spend a day in the company of their kind and don't even know about their existence. Some ornithologists believe that it's all about DNA. Ground squirrels. When you look at the California ground squirrel, it's hard to believe that they have a highly developed intelligence and are capable of doing a lot of things. Well, but they really are. These funny little creatures have a very unusual way of masking their own smell from various predators. They chew rattlesnake skin and smear it all over their fur. Doesn't sound very nice, but it really works. Ground squirrels pick up the remnants of snake skin and carry out this strange manipulation, and most often the adult female and young animals do this. But they use not only the fragrance of the skin. California ground squirrels also use the soil from the resting place of the snake, impregnated with its smell. Yeah, they're very resourceful. For example, to protect against rattlesnakes, these animals learn to warm up their tails so that the snakes seeing in the infrared range could see a warning signal. However, in case it didn't work, the small rodents developed immunity against snake venom. Might come in handy. Water-holding frog. Nature has come up with a huge number of ways for animals to survive droughts. One of the coolest examples can be found in the behavior of the water-holding frog, which lives in Australia. At first sight, this frog doesn't particularly differ from its croaking relatives. Well, maybe their head's a little bigger and it has teeth in its upper jaw. Oh, and its lungs are simply huge and reach the back end of the body. But the most interesting thing is its behavior during a drought. The frog accumulates water in the pockets under the skin and then buries underground to a depth of 1 meter. There it swells, turning into a huge water balloon and fills the whole space, pressing against the cool walls. This position allows the frog to easily wait out the hottest and driest weather and get to the surface when it rains. Sometimes locals even look for these frogs in the desert and use them as a supply of drinking water. They're basically underground flasks. Chimpanzees. Among all monkeys, the chimpanzee is the closest genetic relative of humans, and we actually have some behavioral patterns in common you'd never imagine. Turns out, chimpanzees are able to lead long-standing wars. The most famous conflict between chimpanzees occurred 40 years ago in the Gombe Stream National Park in Tanzania. The communities fighting for the territory were conducting actual military operations for 4 years. Their battles went far beyond the usual throwing stones at the enemy. The monkeys use cunning tactics, trapping the enemies and depriving them of the opportunity to escape. In consequence, there were many scientific works devoted to this conflict, and many scientists closely followed it. But similar wars happen without the knowledge of the scientific community. Chimpanzees fight in large groups, one against another, and it's not always possible to understand the reasons of the conflict. Some believe that the whole thing is in the human instincts that chimpanzees have at the gene level. Others think that human intervention is to blame. Whatever it is, if one day in the jungle you see two furious groups of chimpanzees reenacting that scene from The Gangs of New York, run away as fast as you can. Bowerbirds. Male bowerbirds, like other birds mentioned in this video, use a very interesting way to attract females. They build a nest resembling a hut and compete with each other, decorating the dwelling with colored pebbles, feathers, flowers, and even small items from the human world. Scientists believe that these birds have a sense of beauty. They carefully group the decorative elements by color and combine different shades and colors. Bowerbirds definitely know something about optical illusions. In addition, at least males. In 2011, scientists from Australia discovered that male bowerbirds set objects in their huts in a special way to create an artificial perspective. In these conditions, they may seem bigger, which means that they have a bigger chance to attract the females, and it really works. By the way, the hut built by a male is not a nest in the true sense of the word. These birds use this construction only during mating rituals. The real nests, where they actually lay the eggs, are made exclusively by the females. Psst, dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on the future? Do you love huge vehicles and can't imagine your life without robots around you? Then visit TechZone and you'll find all this and more. The link is in the description. You interested? Great.